All right, let's talk about this Nitro show, which was... I'll be honest, there was wrestling on this show that was not bad.
There was a very good match in the show.
There were a couple of them.
Yeah.
But then there was the rest of the show.
Sadly.
So, Dustin and Rick Steiner are in the ring.
Joined in progress, having a match.
February 18th, 2001, you twit.
You know the funniest thing about this? He called me a twit, but nobody in this room even realized there's never been a February 30th in history.
I suppose that's true.
Wow, he got us.
Well, he did.
Well, I did.
He did.
I mean, that's a factual statement.
He said
you twit.
He said February 30th, and we believed him like twits.
Yes. No one even questioned it.
I will own
You didn't
this.
even look it up, did you?
Yeah, I did. I knew I was wrong. I made up February 30th. I was like, how long are these fuckers going to take to figure out there ain't no February 30th?
Such a heel.
I was thinking about during the music. I was like, when this music's done, I'm going to tell him. Then I thought, it'll be much funnier if it's on the board. And then this guy has to look it up.
Oh, sorry.
Ruin my fun.
I knew I was right.
3 grown men, February 30th. Jesus. So anyway,
well played, Alvarez.
as I was trying to rush to here to hope
This show's
nobody
on the
looked it up,
12th. Yeah.
Dustin versus Rick Steiner, they're in the ring.
There's a referee in there.
Yes. Announcers explain that Flair doesn't want Dustin in the ring, but Shat just decided that he was hired. Okay? Then they say this match was unannounced, even though both men are in their gear doing a match with a referee in the ring.
Right.
Flair then comes out and says, Dustin, you're out of here. He sends security to the ring. They start hauling Dustin out of there. Flair gets in the ring. He says he's the most powerful man in the world. Shat comes out. They're arguing back and forth. Who is in charge here, Vinny? Do you know? Does anybody know who's in charge here?
Brian, the storyline.
Okay.
The on-camera storyline
Okay.
is that nobody in WCW management knows who is in charge or has any idea what the fuck is going on.
So how in the world did Flair get to make these decisions tonight when every week it seems to me that Shat's making all these decisions?
It's something, and to be fair, WWE has done this at times as well. They have essentially equal power, and whoever makes a decision or stipulation first gets it.
Well, the problem with your theory, Vinny, is that the first thing I was told on this show was Shat had rehired Dustin.
I don't know what the fuck's going on. I thought
Okay,
explain.
see?
I just told you that the storyline is no one knows who's in charge of what's going on.
Well, anyway, Flair apparently gets to decide tonight that Shat will be doing a match right now, which I thought was with Mike Sanders because he's in the ring.
Right.
The winner becomes the commissioner.
No, oh, go ahead.
Did he? Did he say Lance Storm?
He said you'll be facing. Well, his exact words were, "You'll be facing this man," and then a giant picture of Lance appeared on the screen.
I see. A picture of Lance.
Yes,
Wow. Well, I'm glad he had that loaded up.
he did say Sanders would be the special ref.
Okay.
And
So-
then he repeats himself for like 5 minutes, and his music played.
That's the thing that's weird because the cat's the commissioner and he's wrestling Lance for the commissionership. But what's Flair's title?
I think he's the CEO.
I think he's the president.
President. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then...
So before you move on, I just want to say, when this is done, I was like, Jesus Christ, how long did that go? I thought it went like 20 or 25 minutes.
No.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my
long-ass
God.
6 minutes. So Flair is with Chavo backstage. Do you recall last week on this show when we were trying to figure
Yes.
out what the fuck was going on? And
Yes.
well, they decided, of all the things to explain,
Yes. Hey, it made sense.
Chavo is trying to claim that Ric Flair screwed him last week,
Yes.
okay? Because Ric Flair claimed, for those of you that forgot, he claimed he went drinking with Chavo Sr. They found this little fella who was going to put a mask on. He was going to go in there and make Chavo look good and then do the job. But the man ended up being Rey Mysterio, who then beat and humiliated Chavo. Chavo accuses Flair of doing this on purpose.
Yes.
Flair's explanation is Ray got word of this. He got a hold of the kid,
Yes.
and he made his own deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can. This in the world of WCW 2001 is like the most logical thing.
Vinny, the explanation makes sense but the original story is ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous.
Sure.
Flair's drinking with Chavo, and they found a little fella
Yeah.
who just happened to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
Who just happened to agree to do a dive.
And they said, we'll pay you $500 to go face to lose to Chavo next week. He said, okay. And then, of course, they're drinking. It's Ric Flair drinking. I'm sure he talks a lot. So Ray hears his plan, says, hey, kid, come here. They're paying you $5. I'll give you $6.
Oh, so Ray was in the bar?
Sure. In Tequila. In Tijuana, they said.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Well, he doesn't live in Tijuana. He lives in San Diego.
Well,
Very far away.
Well, that's not the point, you idiot. They just all happen to be in Tijuana in the same bar
It's where the
at the
luchadors-
same time drinking.
It's
Oh,
where-
that's where the luchadors hang out?
Sure.
There's one tavern in Tijuana they hang out at.
I'm sure there must be.
You're dumb.
it's either that or the Donkey Show.
So the announcers, by the way, before this Chavo Flair thing, they're running down this show. They begin to plug upcoming Nitro events, including this year's Spring Breakout at Panama City. Which they didn't know, it's the end.
Fuck, if you're going to go out, that's the way to go out, though.
It is. At the beach. Cat versus Lance Storm. Okay. The Cat was a karate champion, right? And he played football before that. He's an athletic man. How can he be so bad at running the ropes?
You know, I noticed that exact same thing, and I've seen mini Shat matches, and he's not this bad. The only thing, was he wearing shoes?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Is it possible he was wearing his slippery dancing shoes?
That would explain it.
Because I can't think, he could not work in clothes to save his life.
Yeah.
And listen, a gi is clothes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It is. If you can,
Who are you apologizing to?
if you can do wrestling in a gi, you can do wrestling in your clothes.
Sure.
Unless you're Shat. He was completely incapable of wrestling.
Stop there.
So, as if that wasn't bad enough, it's a stupid heel ref match. So the Cat beats up the ref before the ref can beat him up, but then he's making covers and there's no ref there because he beat him up.
Yep.
This goes on for a while. He tries to take Sanders' shirt off. Finally lands a super kick, hooks the maple leaf, and at least they did the finish right because Sanders does a Montreal ring the fucking bell before the Cat can even submit. So Lance Storm is apparently the commissioner now.
That's right.
And then the Cat is beaten up more afterwards. Oh, yeah, because the segment continues. Flair and his crew come out to celebrate and beat up the Cat.
Oh my God.
Ricky, he says to Rick Steiner, put him in the crossface. Put the sugar on him.
They cut to the big screen, and there's Kevin Nash.
The baby face.
Only his face, by the way. And Kevin Nash says, "You've forgotten something." So when he says that, the camera is supposed to pan out to see what we've forgotten. But it doesn't. So Nash says, "You've forgotten something." And he looks at the camera for a long time. And then he starts to smile. How come no one's fucking saying anything? Well, the fucking cameraman forgot to zoom out.
He did look off camera for a while to ask what's happening.
They finally zoom out, and he's got David. And the very first thing that Kevin Nash says is, and I quote, "He's still alive.
Thank God.
Don't worry, he's alive.
He's not dead."
I have not murdered him and then displayed the body here on national television.
Again, Nash is the baby face.
So Flair says, "Please, please don't hurt my son." Nash says, "I am running the show. I am the boss tonight. I have got demands." Okay. What are your demands, Kevin Nash?
Hey, great question.
Kevin Nash says, demand number one is we get Lance Storm versus the Shat for the commissionership. Dude, I just saw that match. Did I not?
You did. And it sucked.
At Super Brawl.
And now you're going to see it again.
Oh, it said Super Brawl?
Yes. This next Sunday.
He wants Dustin versus Rick Steiner. I just saw that.
Yes.
Nash says if Dustin wins, he's reinstated. He says if Dustin wins, he's reinstated, and Nash will get a shot at Scott Steiner tonight.
Yeah,
He can barely spit this out.
Nash, by the way, has a title shot against Scott Steiner on the pay-per-view.
Right.
Didn't we just see them have a title match last week, too?
In fact, we did.
Okay, so we have two
He
straight
must
weeks
have a title shot every show.
and never win.
And
Okay,
never
hell of a
win.
baby face. He vows to make everything right. Flair agrees to everything.
Here I wrote, this show is 17 minutes old and I am miserably bored. So during the break, Flair sends Mike Sanders to find Dustin Rhodes. They think he's left the building. Totally buffed. Congratulate O'Hare and Palumbo.
Glad you're doing it now.
For some, I don't know why it's funny, but it is. They say Ric Flair is very impressed by them. And O'Hare and Palumbo kind of blow him off.
They're like, yeah, right.
Sanders finds Dustin in the building.
I thought he was arrested.
He was escorted out by security.
No, literally, Ric Flair was trying to find Dustin, and he was told he's long gone.
He went home. But he's still here.
That was 5 minutes ago. And it's not like he's there. He's just hanging out.
He's just in his locker room, chilling.
Sanders walks in, and he says, okay, Dustin.
Maybe the show was funny bad.
Listen, buddy, I need you tonight. I need you to wrestle. Dustin says, nope. Not doing it.
Yeah.
I got other plans, he says.
So he's not doing the match at this point to fuck with Ric Flair.
Yes.
Right.
But also to remain unemployed.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he tells Sanders, now go on, get.
That was awesome. Like it's a stray dog. Get! Lash LaRue versus Jimmy Yang. When I mentioned there was good wrestling on the show,
This was good.
What?
You didn't like this match.
Lash LaRue
It got-
is horrendous.
better. But
I
the
wouldn't
first-
call him horrendous.
The first
Okay, he's not
minute of
good.
this, when Yang tried the cartwheel kick and just fell flat in his back, and he starts to do a big running dive, but the last second he throws in the brakes because Lash LaRue's out of position. They keep in this match. After that, it's not horrible, but boy, is it indie-rific.
Yeah, it was. You know what this was? In 2001, it was 20 years before its time.
Yes.
It was a 2020 indie match. That's what it was. Everybody kicked out of 5,000 moves.
Yes, none of them were done very good.
You know what's funny? We haven't watched it in 5 years. But 5 years ago on Nitro, the match was shine, heat, comeback, move. That being the finish.
Yeah.
That was it. That was 5 years ago. Do you know how much professional wrestling changed in America from 1995 to 2001? Like, decades worth of change. And since 2001, it hasn't changed at all. You know what I'm saying? It's been exactly the same for 19 years.
We have been watching a lot of these WCW Nitro Cruiserweight matches and saying, this is a Young Bucks match 20 years
You
early.
literally could have seen Wang and Lash LaRue on Dynamite this week. And you would have seen the exact same match they did here. Whereas if you put these two in the ring 5 years ago on Nitro, it would have been totally different. That's a lot of change.
And much worse than the Nitro matches of 1996. My favorite part, and the most indie-rific example, I think, Lash LaRue grabs and does a pump handle sit-out powerbomb.
Yeah.
When you do this move, when you land, you're already in a pinning position. Because you've got the guy. You're grabbing his legs, his shoulders are down. That's how Batista won all his titles. Lash rolls out of this powerbomb, picks the guy up to hit a sit-out DVD, which is not a pinning position, and then cradles him.
Yes. It was not perfect.
The classic, slam a guy, then pick him up to slam him again. Pick him up to do a takedown. Eventually, Yang wins with a twisting moonsault. This qualifies him for a 6-man, 4 corners match at Super Bowl.
Cool. What? A 6-man.
That is what they said.
4 corners match. Okay.
So Flair is on the phone backstage. Much like Vince, he's interrupted by an eager man, in this case, Mike Sanders. Flair wants to know, did you get Dustin? Sanders says, we're negotiating. Flair is outraged. I need him. My son's at stake. I need you to give Dustin Rhodes anything he wants, within reason. If you don't get it, he says, you'll be Steiner food.
Sanders goes into Dustin's locker room and he says, anything you want, you got it. Ball's in your court, name your price. This is World Championship Wrestling. Whatever you want, name your price. Dustin says, I want a match with Steiner. We already got that. And if I beat him, I get a title match at the pay-per-view.
I'll get Steiner.
Like, that's what you came up with.
Yeah.
That was you held out your negotiations for that.
Not even so tonight's match will be a title match.
No.
A chance to win a title match.
Yes.
And by the way, this isn't Scott Steiner. This is Rick.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, Flair told Sanders, I want him signed So Sanders goes in, and now the best that he gave him was a match where if he wins, he gets signed.
That's true.
This is a stupid television
Dustin
show.
negotiated himself backwards.
Yes.
Gene interviews Sean Stasiak and Mark Jindrak. Stasiak gets a promo. It's fine.
Dude, low praise, Vinny. This was a man pretending to be a pro wrestler.
Sure.
He was pretending to be The Rock.
I did not get that vibe.
Yes. Trying to play The Rock, and it wasn't working.
He needs to work.
As evidenced by you not getting it.
Well, clearly. I just like that his last line, he's facing Chuck Palumbo tonight, and he says, I'll prove I was the one who carried that team. And they walk off, and Gene Okerlund, in his mean Gene voice, just says, you carried Palumbo? I don't believe it. I laughed. DDP consoles the cat. There's like 8 non-wrestling segments in a row, by the way, so I'm going to go back and count. Says, tonight, Jarrett's going to Bangtown, which I suspect is somewhere near Flavortown.
I'd really like to go there.
Yeah, what? And he calls Canyon Judas and says, watch what I do to that guy. More not wrestling. Sanders tells Animal and Flair it's done. Dustin's taken care of. Flair then tells Animal, I needed to make sure Rick Steiner wins tonight. You're my insurance policy. Animal says he'll get it done. Then we have a Steiner Brothers video for like 20 seconds. So that is 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 non-wrestling segments in a row.
They usually do that at this point in the show.
Yeah. Rick Steiner versus Dustin Rhodes again.
Okay, listen. I like this match. Am I the only one? It wasn't the most exciting match in the world, but it was
a professional wrestling match.
It was an 80s NWA guy.
Yes, exactly.
Versus an 80s NWA guy.
Doing an 80s NWA match.
Doing an 80s NWA match they could have done in their sleep.
Yes.
On the level that we have seen Rick Steiner at over the last month.
Yes.
I mean, he was fucking fantastic.
Sure,
here.
yes.
Dustin's just great.
Yeah.
And they had a very good, solid, professional wrestling match. Mm-hmm. And the whole key to this is there was nothing all that special about it. Heat on Dustin. Dustin makes a comeback. Ref took a bump, which was during what was actually a very good high spot. Dustin hits the Bulldog. There's no ref. Animal runs down. Dustin waffles him, but he gets belly to bellied, but there's still no ref. Douglas runs down to get revenge on Rick. He whacks him from behind with his cast. Dustin hits the DDT. The ref wakes up. When this ref counted the pin in this Rick Steiner-Dustin Rhodes match on Nitro, the fans across from the hard cam, they leap to their feet. They're clapping and going, yeah!
Grown men were jumping up and down with joy because Dustin Rhodes pinned Rick Steiner.
I was a big fan of this segment.
It was very, very well done.
It just proved that, like, even at the bottom of the barrel, Doldrum's about to die. Just give them a good goddamn wrestling match, and they'll be happy.
That's right. Shane Douglas and Steiner have been having a series of terrible matches.
Yes.
I've forgotten until right now. So Dustin gets his title shot on. I also wrote here on Sunday, whenever the damn pay-per-view is. Nash gets his title shot tonight, and then another title shot at the pay-per-view, I guess. So the heels go to break Douglas's other wrist, and Dustin tries to help, but he's fought off, and they pulmonize his other arm. So I guess Douglas is going to have 2 casts now.
All right, so here's my question, and it's a deadly serious question, and I'm not going back to check, but can anybody find this out for me? Has there been a 1-month period where Shane Douglas has not been in a cast or a sling since he debuted?
I think he meant his pro wrestling career.
Maybe his whole career, but for sure WCW. He has not gone 1 month without having a cast or a sling on, has he?
He always has something broken.
Yeah, what's going on?
There was a point in ECW where he faced Al Snow, of all people. I believe it was Al Snow. He had a broken palate.
That sucks.
Inner head was broken.
Should have gone to the witch doctor.
The last thing I want to mention here is Animal runs down and hits the ring. He jumps up in the apron, and Dustin punches him. Animal had a great career, and 90% of it was on offense. So I'm confident saying this was the best bump Animal ever took. He was flying. He was flying backwards off the apron, lands on his feet, but then rolls all the way back over onto his belly. It was awesome. Ric Flair breaks the news to Steiner. He has to face Kevin Nash tonight now. Steiner does not take the news well. Elith Skipper versus Kidman in another qualifier for the 6-man 4 corners match.
Another good match.
This was a good wrestling match.
But you know what this was? This was very similar to Lash versus Wang, but they were better.
But they're better workers.
Well, Kidman. I mean, Elix Skipper's very green, but
Kidman is better than Lash. That's for
I
sure.
would bet you anything this was Johnny Ace. Because both of these matches were very, very similar. They were more Japanese style, bigger moves, kicking out of finishes, the whole 9 yards. And the fans liked this match, and they screamed when Kidman got the win. I liked it.
This was a good pay-per-view caliber match here on a random Nitro. I have not seen one of these in months. Gene goes to interview Hugh Morris. It's Hugh Morris versus The Wall at Super Brawl.
Dude, listen to me. Everything that Morris said, he had to laugh afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I am going to take out... Who's he going to face?
The Wall.
The Wall.
I'm going to face that wall. Ooh! The whole time.
You are the worst Hugh Morris.
No, I'm the best Hugh Morris, because that was not Hugh Morris.
I understand he did his gimmick. He overdid the gimmick. And it was
I
very
preferred
irritating.
him when he was a weekly dick joke. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So as stupid as it was superior to this laughing bullshit.
It has nothing to do with... He says this. This has nothing to do with Loco or Cajun or AWOL or Erection.
Yeah.
One for the road. Has to do with Hugh Morris and The Wall, and I will leave with blood on my hands. And on top of this, he challenges Chavo and Wall to face himself and Rey Mysterio on Thunder.
I didn't get any of that.
You're too
Distracted by the
focused on the
laughing.
giggling.
All the laughing. And I had no dick jokes to make. It was a sad day.
What an empty life.
Wow.
No wonder this show's worn off on you now. At least you have that one thing to look forward to. In
I
2
did
hours.
have that one every week. I could try and come up with a new one.
Yes. And then Gene tells
Can I
us...
pop with a huge erection? Joke.
And then Gene tells us Scott Steiner is looking for Kevin Nash. We then cut to Scott Steiner looking for Kevin Nash. And I wrote here in entirety, Steiner is looking for Nash, kills a guy.
That's what happened.
All right.
Steiner is beating up geeks looking for Nash.
Flair is back on the phone. Very angry. I'm doing everything I can to save my son. Don't holler at me. I'm in my office. I'm going to handle it, Beth. He hangs up. Good news, Rick. She's not hollering at you anymore. We have a Canyon Dallas Page video package in which the announcer says, with a totally deadpan delivery, "The terror from the Jersey Shore." I never thought of him that way.
Well, if you saw that show they did on MTV, that makes a lot of sense.
Jersey Shore. So here's the storyline, in case you'd forgotten all this.
I have.
They
I
were
didn't watch it.
They were friends.
Got it.
Canyon got thrown off a cage by Mike Awesome.
Yes.
Because he was thrown off a cage, he turned on Dallas Page and attacked him.
Okay, I lost you.
That's what happened.
Well, I know that, but that's dumb.
You didn't visit him in the hospital, or
Then both guys left, and now they're back. That's the story.
okay?
I find it very hard to believe Dallas Page would not have visited Canyon in the hospital after he got thrown off the cage in Kemper Arena.
Yeah. Sean Stasiak versus Chuck Palumbo. I was far more interested in what was being said during this match than what was happening during this match.
Dude, I put over that Wang match earlier, the Jimmy Wang Yang. I put over the Billy Kidman match.
They were better than this.
I cannot, and I put over the Rick Steiner match. I cannot even begin to put over this match. This was the most boring. Dude, whatever I said about Triple H earlier tonight, I apologize. He fucking tore it up compared to these two geeks.
Yeah.
Just the most boring.
And
Sean Stasiak never lit the world on fire with anything he did.
that's true. That's true.
I mean, seriously.
No, I know. You
So-
don't have to convince me.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because no shit. Vinny's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about here.
Anyway.
You mean when he was meat? Wasn't that him? Yes. Okay, I totally forgot it was so bad.
So, this is why.
They called him meat.
Yeah.
You understand?
And put him in trunks that looked like underwear. So,
Not even beef. Like a specific kind of meat. He's just meat.
As they're coming down to the ring, Scott Hudson lies to us.
No.
And he says, "I can't wait for this. The battle of the perfect event." It's like the Mega
Are
Powers.
they?
They were.
Okay.
It's like the Mega Powers exploding all over again. The battle of the perfect event.
Except not in any way, shape, or form.
Then Tony Schiavone says, when you talk about the members of the Natural Born Thrillers, you're talking about a compost of egos, of emotion, of men who would do anything to prove they are better than their former partners. What?
Excuse me?
A compost of egos? Then Hudson says...
He was thinking about the show. Compost.
Compost heap. Hudson says, word has it, Stasiak is a bit of a flake. Palumbo is the more grounded of the two. This is so much more entertaining than the wrestling match going on. They do whatever. Here's everything I wrote about
whatever.
the match. Match is whatever, I wrote. They try to do a cradle on the ropes for the finish, but they're so close to the ropes, the referee, he cannot bring himself to pretend they're not in the ropes. So they have to do it again in the middle of the ring, and Stasiak grabs the tights to win. Then he must do a promo. I've beaten you. I will beat you again at Super Brawl. This sucked.
Oh, you know what? Didn't stand out. Actually, it did stand out in a bad way.
Dallas Page comes out for a promo.
This was all right.
He still gets a big superstar reaction.
When he says he's going to get Canyon, I liked it.
I did like where he says like 6 words. At Super Brawl, Jarrett will feel the bang, and then has like an hour to talk about Canyon. That scumbag Canyon. You stole my look. You stole my music. You stole my move, and you gave it a new name. He was pissed about that last part. So Jarrett comes out and says, I will hit you with my guitar on Sunday. Page says, we can do it right now. Canyon tries to ambush Page, but Dallas Page is not a stupid babyface. So after he was ambushed last week, he was ready for the ambush this week. He kicked Canyon's ass. But sadly, there's still 2 of them. He gets double teamed, hit with a guitar, hit with a stroke, and left lying.
I will say that we didn't mention this in the Raw review when we were talking about the 85-minute opening segment, but Rikishi's out there and Steve Austin's out there. And Steve Austin says, Rikishi, you're representing me. Normally, I'd want to see you get your ass whipped. But tonight, you're my representative. So I'm going to sit there, and I want you to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And when that match is over, I'll be the first man to step foot in that ring. I'll hand you a beer. I'll propose a toast, and I'll give you the stunner.
The one time he was being totally honest.
I just loved his honesty. And Rikishi was like, I guess that's what happens.
Detective Scott Steiner is on the case. He is backstage at Nitro. There's 7 miles of television cord running around this building, but he has found the cord that he knows goes to Kevin Nash's camera. And he's going hand over hand by this cord. Mm-hmm. Now, once he gets out of the hallway, it's the only cord going down there, but he's still going hand by hand to the room.
Oh, you can never be too sure, Vince.
He gets to the room. There's a camera. It's Nash's camera, he says. Nash is in there. He's about to storm out. He looks down at a monitor. There's Kevin Nash with David going to the ring. Okay.
Could have just stayed in one
Waited.
spot.
Yeah. So the match is Kevin Nash versus Scott Steiner.
I would like to just mention that Kevin Nash at the beginning of the show said, don't bother looking for me. You'll never find me.
Well, he didn't.
That's a 7-foot-tall man.
With a hostage.
With a hostage. And he was right.
He was right. It's a dumb show, Brian.
It's a really stupid show.
So, speaking of dumbness, Nash comes out with David Flair. Ric Flair comes out, begs him, please let my son go. Nash grabs David, powerbombs him straight to hell, at which point the announcers say, you gotta feel bad for David Flair. He's done nothing wrong, doesn't deserve this.
Nash is the babyface.
Nash is the babyface. So, before the match starts then, we cut to the back. Flair is putting David in a limo, and he's got like Luger and Buff and all them out there. They say, what do you want us to do, Flair? He looks at him and says, go kill Nash. So they come out to kill Nash, but there's Chronic and Dustin in the chat, and they're all fighting off everybody. So
Finally got a shat out of Vince.
I did.
He's seen enough.
It took 6 years, but I got there.
He's seen enough. I'm trying to run the ropes, and it was like, all right.
Yes,
Brian was right after all these years.
So now I will say this, for all the bullshit and when Nash made his comeback, the place is going crazy.
They did. They liked it.
And he preps that power bomb, and everyone's going nuts. And then Ric Flair hits him for a DQ.
Dude, that DQ, You know what I wrote at the end of this show? I said, I admit the fans, for whatever reason that I cannot explain, actually I can't explain it, they were the last of the last. The last of the Mohicans. They stuck with this shit till the very end. Of course they're going to like this. But dude, as a fan, I personally am done with this show. Another run-in DQ. I've been watching them for 6 fucking years on this show. I wait 2 hours for a main event. It's a run-in DQ.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, these fans that were just determined to be here till the end reminds me a lot of some other fans today. They were going to like this no matter what. And they waited for 2 hours. They got an awful match with a shitty DQ, and they still were into it. God bless them. We should all have fans like these.
You might.
Great.
So Steiner, after the DQ, lays out Nash with a pipe and does the leg-breaking gimmick. And they ask, as the show goes off the air, the last commentary we hear is, will Kevin Nash be able to compete in the title match at Super Brawl or not? How many?
Thank God we got 3 weeks left till the 30th.
Yeah,
That's it. You want your music?
I suppose.
Over it.
The finishes on this show were: no finish when the CEO tells one guy he doesn't work there. Submission via Montreal finish. Clean pin. Pin after interference. Clean pin. Pin holding the tights after a pin in the ropes was too blatant not to be caught. And DQ due to interference.
Hey, I got to mention now, otherwise Rob's going to get mad. This coming Sunday, we're all going to NXT TakeOver Portland.
Sure
all
are.
of us here? Yes, we're all going to Portland. And prior to NXT TakeOver Portland at 1 o'clock, from 1 to 3, I will be at the Kinokuniya Bookstore, the Portland downtown store, 829 Southwest 9th Avenue, Portland, Oregon, 97205. I'll be signing copies of 100 Things WWE Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die, as well as Death of WCW. I will have many copies of both books, and you can buy a book, get it signed, or if you already bought the book, just bring the book, and I will sign it for free. And yes, Rob will be there. His job is to carry the books. Yeah, right, Rob? So if you want to meet Rob... Yeah. If you want to meet Rob and myself,
That's no weirder than meeting me.
it's much weirder. Kinokuniya Bookstore, Portland downtown store, 829 Southwest 9th Avenue, Portland, Oregon, 97205. Up on my Twitter at Brian Alvarez. I'll be retweeting it all week. So come and say hi. Vinny might stop in. Craig, you never know who might be there.
I won't be there.
At the Kinokuniya Bookstore. Why? They're going to have all sorts of cool books in Chinese.
I don't want to leave that early.
I don't read.
Leave that early. It's 1 to 3.
We live in Seattle.
The show starts at 4.
I'll be there at 4.
All right.
Show starts at 3:30, by the way.
Well, I'm not going to be there at 3:30. I can miss the dark match. Anyway, that's the plan, everybody, so check it out, and that's it from here. We will talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Adios.